Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most shocking FNAF fan games I've ever come across. From unbelievable twists to moments that completely blindsided me, these games constantly found new ways to surprise me. Some of these left me staring at my screen, wondering what I had just witnessed, so let's dive into them.
Alright guys, the slander is ridiculous. I do not have a Coke can wiener, and I can prove it. I had a lovely fan redraw me. Boom. New art. How does it feel being wrong? You gonna cry? Yeah, you gonna piss your pants because I don't have a penis? Yeah, I was castrated. What are you gonna do about it? Anyways, Jaja, thank you so much for drawing these new poses. I think they look amazing, and I hope all of you get a kick out of them too, and I stop getting comments about my character Skags having an absolute sledgehammer penis. I just had to address that. Go follow her on Instagram, link in the description. Let's get to the video. If you've ever played any of the games from the Souls series, you'd know that a lot of the time the bosses, while being incredibly difficult, tend to be able to be broken down into pattern recognition, and once you understand a boss's pattern, beating them becomes much easier. The FNAF game I'll be talking about today feels the same way. Today, I'll be talking about Mary's Arcade, a FNAF fan game that, in its own creator's words, is, quote, a short, simple FNAF game that wasn't overly dependent on story, avoids using FNAF mechanics like doors and masks, and doesn't rely on randomness or luck, just complete skill, end quote. It was that final part about no randomness or luck that really grabbed my attention, since luck and RNG is the main reason I end up disliking FNAF games. 1020 mode in FNAF 2 is the prime example, but of course, fan games are guilty of this as well. I'm excited to dive into Mary's Arcade. I'm sure there will be no complaining from my end at all, and I'll be totally calm the entire time and will never go feral. Grab a snack and a drink, there's a lot I want to talk about. Mary's Arcade begins with us naming the Night Guard, something that I haven't seen other FNAF games do before. The only reason I'm mentioning it here is because the name shows up on the menu and on your paychecks. It's important for me to say that for these videos, I don't typically use my own footage. I usually borrow footage from full playthroughs and challenge runs from people like Toy Bonbon or Shooter. Rest assured, I do play the games I make videos about, I just use other people's footage for the review videos. Just had to get that out of the way. The gameplay loop of Mary's Arcade is honestly super refreshing and unique in comparison to other FNAF games. There are only 3 animatronics, but I promise you that's all this game needs in order to keep the game very difficult. And I promise you, when I tell you this game is hard, this game is really fucking hard. So here's how it works. In your camera system, you have 2 important buttons, your PA button and your buzzer button. I'll start with the buzzer button. When you press the buzzer, it will shock the camera you are currently looking at. If an animatronic is on that camera, they will be locked in place until the buzzer finishes, I don't know, buzzing? What do you want from me? Then afterwards, they will continue on their path. The PA button does something pretty cool. It's somewhat similar to the Balloon Boy call from Five Nights at Freddy's 3. If you use the PA call on a camera that an animatronic is about to go into, they will immediately go into that camera. You can't make animatronic go backwards through cameras, only forward. You might be asking yourself, in what way is that even useful? And the answer is honestly pretty cool. When an animatronic reaches your door, their eyes will light up, letting you know they're there. You will then have to open your camera quickly, select the camera on the opposite side of the office, and use the PA button to lure them through your office to the other side. Now that might lead you to have another question. If you just lure them to the other door, wouldn't they just attack you from that door? And the answer is no. I can't find a very good reason to justify why this makes sense, so we're not even gonna try. But out of the 2 animatronics that attack from your left and right doors, they have movement patterns similar to animatronics from other FNAF games. Mary, the pink wolf, or fox? I don't really know, I think she's a fox. Anyways, she'll move clockwise through the cameras since the building is basically just a big circle. Rascal, the raccoon animatronic, will move counterclockwise around the building. They will never, under any circumstance, turn around and start moving in the opposite direction. They will only ever move forward through rooms. So when you pull one of them through your office, they will have to make a full rotation around the building before being able to attack you at your door again. Are you following along? Great, you get a medal or a cookie. I hope you're allergic to cookies and you die. Rah, rah, rah. Now I need to mention the only part of this game that I think is a negative: cooldowns on your door lights. You'll notice that after using the buzzer or the PA button, that a bar will start filling up underneath the button. This is a cooldown for those buttons, and this prevents you from spamming them, which would obviously break the game and make it far too easy. Here's where the problem comes around. Mary and Rascal move at the speed of fucking sound, Sonic type shit. And on later nights when they're both active, the cooldowns become a huge problem. Because once you use the PA button on one of them, the other will reach your office well before your PA cools down. So, what's the remedy for this? Your door lights. In addition to using the buzzer to stall animatronics in place, using your door light when an animatronic is in the doorway will also stall their movement. I will note that the lights are meant to give you an extra 5 to 10 seconds for your PA to cool down, and not meant for you to halt an animatronic when your PA is basically empty. While an animatronic is at your door, they still have a timer for when they'll move into your room, whether you're flashing them or not. And if you're flashing them when that timer runs down, the lights to the building will flicker out and you'll lose the night. If you're easily frustrated, this game is probably not for you. On night 1, only Mary is active. With one animatronic, this game is a cakewalk. But this night is really just meant to give you an understanding of how the mechanics work, and it's also where we're told that the night will pass along faster if the cameras are not up. This gives us an incentive to not be looking at the cameras, but as you'll soon find out, looking at the cameras all the time is going to be the most valuable asset in this game. Night 2 is where Rascal becomes active, and the game actually starts to become a challenge. Still, this night is really easing you into dealing with 2 animatronics at one time, so beating it is fairly easy. On this night, there's a large emphasis placed on your buzzer, because it becomes incredibly important with 2 active animatronics. Night 3 is where this game really amps up in difficulty. You'll notice that Rascal moves much faster than Mary does, which can pose a small problem when it comes to balancing their locations, but be ready because it only goes from 10 to 100 after this night. But before this night ends, you get to see one of the coolest things I've ever witnessed in a FNAF game.
Power supply low. Powering down.
Was that not the fucking coolest shit you've ever seen in your life? A scripted cutscene that makes you think you lost? It's so cool. And I think the only reason why it left so many people, including myself, as shocked as it did, was because it completely breaks the Five Nights at Freddy's norms. I'm sure everyone who's played FNAF has had a moment where the clock strikes 6 a.m. in the middle of a jump scare animation. It's a rare occurrence, yet it somehow still happens to most of us. And this game takes that concept and creates its own cutscene out of it. It was this moment while playing this game that made me decide I needed to make a video about it. But now we move on to Night 4, aka Poop City. Night 4 introduces the final animatronic, Scarlet the Deer, or a doe. Fawn? I don't know, it's a deer. Scarlet does something totally different from the other 2 animatronics. She is not affected by your PA system or your buzzer, meaning she'll truck right through the building however and whenever she pleases. How do you stop her? Remember when I said that not looking at the cameras makes the night go faster? Yeah? In order to stop Scarlet, you have to stare her ass down on the cameras. Life's great, dude. It's awesome, honestly. Scarlet begins on the stage like all the other animatronics do, and she'll follow either Mary or Rascal's path. She'll continue in that direction until she reaches your office, where she'll then attack from the door in the middle of the room, which means you can't use your door lights to stall her either. So instead, you must find her on the cameras and stare at her. Once you do this for long enough, which takes around 3 seconds, but trust me, feels like way longer, especially when some fucker is at your door. But once you look at her for long enough, she'll move backwards 1 camera, and then you can switch to that camera and continue to push her back until she is at the top of the map. Note, you can't make her go back on stage, so the camera right next to it is as safe as you're gonna get. Keeping Scarlet away doesn't get too stressful until you have Mary or Rascal sitting at your door, and you have to stop flashing them to pull your camera up to keep her away. But now, we get to touch on Night 5. And if Night 4 was Poop City, Night 5 is Poop Universe. Oh my god, Night 5. It's very important that I answer a specific question now. The Game Jolt page for Mary's Arcade states that this game does not use RNG and is pure skill. Is that statement true? The answer is yes, but I promise you, when Night 5 comes around, it will feel like complete RNG. But it's not, okay? It's not, I promise. This game is not so much a horror game as it is a puzzle game. Literally everything that takes place during the nights are scripted. That includes where animatronics start, when they move, and where they move. Speaking of where they start, on Night 5, Mary starts about 3 cameras away from your door, and Rascal starts about 2 cameras away from your door, while Scarlet is on stage. Immediately, right out of the gate, you're at an enormous disadvantage. If you do nothing within the first 10 seconds, Rascal will already be at your door. So you might think to just send him through, but almost directly after, Mary will be at your door, and uh-oh, you just used your PA. Guess it's time to kill myself. So then you think, okay, here's the strat. The moment the night starts, I'm gonna buzz Rascal and let Mary hit my door. I'll send her through and then stall Rascal with the light, which should give me just enough time to send him through before the lights go out. But uh-oh, fucker, you forgot about Scarlet, and now she's in your asshole. Okay, same strategy, except this time, after sending Mary through, we find Scarlet and send her back to the starting position, but oh shit! Rascal's at the door, so opening my cameras to move Scarlet now becomes super risky, and I'm fucked in the butthole again. Night 5 of Mary's Arcade is the bane of my existence, the piss in my pants, and the shit in my britches. It took me over 2 hours of attempts to figure out the pattern of this night's puzzle. Again, everything is the exact same every night. Literally no RNG in the timings. So I started to develop a strategy. I needed to figure out exactly how Scarlet worked, and I'm pretty damn sure that I have. So, the night begins and Scarlet is in her start location. On Night 5, she will start by going left, the same side that Rascal goes. I know that my timing needs to be tight and precise, so my plan is to buzz Rascal on start immediately, let Mary through, and stall Rascal at the door with the light until my PA system is ready to then let him through. Since I have to be in the bottom right corner camera to let Rascal through, I need to make sure that Scarlet will be there, so that the moment I open the camera to let Rascal through, I will retroactively immediately push Scarlet away from my door. But we just established that she's going left, so what do we do? Well, if you push Scarlet to the main starting room, she will begin to attack the opposite side. So in Night 5, she begins by going counterclockwise. So, if before Rascal reaches my door, but after I let Mary through, I push Scarlet back to the main room, she will then begin to move clockwise. This gives me time to stall Rascal while she moves. However, while stalling Rascal, I will have to make one risky move. If I leave her totally unanswered, she will kill me before my PA system refills, so I have to push her back at some point. Now, one might think, if you push her back, she'll start going in the wrong direction, and we've already established that I want her to be in the bottom right corner camera by the time I send Rascal through. But something I found out about Scarlet: you can push her back as much as you want, but she won't switch directions unless you push her back to the main room. Meaning that, if I sit on the bottom right corner camera in preparation for luring Rascal, I can temporarily stop flashing him with the light to pull up the camera and push Scarlet back into the kitchen camera and quickly go back to flashing Rascal. This will give my PA system just enough time to refill before Rascal's door timer runs out, allowing me to push Rascal through, and then push Scarlet back to the main room. You might be thinking now, wow, that took way more thinking than any game I've ever played in my entire life. But then you look at the time and realize that it's only 1 a.m. I have to figure out timings like that for the next 5 in-game hours. This right here is why this game took me so fucking long to beat. This scripted bullshit makes me want to get mauled by a bear. I would honestly rather have RNG because this just isn't fun. It doesn't feel like skill because each night is identical. At least with FNAF 2 1020 mode, I know that I just got unlucky with Toy Bonnie and that next time I could just get lucky and win. But not with Mary's Arcade. Mary's Arcade is nothing but trial and error, spending 30 minutes figuring out a pattern, die, spend another 10 minutes solving the new problem, die, do it again and again and again until you realize that fucking 2 hours have passed and you've only solved up to 4 a.m. with a goddamn night. And then I get the displeasure of talking about 5 a.m. Oh, 5 a.m. You big, stinky, fat, smelly, sweaty, sticky, ugly, stupid, dumb, idiotic, brain-dead, moronic bitch. Right at the finale of 5 a.m., all of the cameras go completely out. You can't look at them. You're no longer able to see anything on the cameras, and it really comes down to you versus Scarlet. Scarlet, if unanswered, will make it to your office before you hit 6 a.m. every time without fail. But how exactly are you supposed to stop her if you can't see the cameras, you ask? I have no fucking idea. It was ironically sheer luck that I didn't die to her on my final run. My idea was that even though I couldn't see her, she was still there, meaning that if I knew where she was before the cameras went out, I could still land on the camera she was just on, wait for the camera to flicker letting me know I pushed her back, then continue to push her back to the main room and just camp that camera and wait to win, since Mary and Rascal showing up during the game's final desperation to keep me here was very, very uncommon. But there would be runs where I would do this and still miraculously die to Scarlet. I have no fucking idea where she was. I had no strategy, no puzzle to solve, no clues to go off of. Have you ever tried to put together a 100-piece jigsaw puzzle without looking at it? Play Mary's Arcade Night 5, 5 a.m. After a few attempts of giving it a try, you'd be unzipping your pants and pulling your wiener out at the thought of attempting the jigsaw puzzle. I'm dead ass serious. I do not know how I beat this night. I could not replicate what I did. I watched multiple other people beat this night, and I didn't pick up on any patterns. I literally have no conceivable idea what I was expected to do at this point. I really hope someone in the comments could tell me what the intended route was, because I'm honestly so fucking confused. But after beating Night 5, the game is done. And so is this video. Psych, you fucking idiot. There's a challenge night. Nightmare mode. Fuck. I didn't beat it. No, I didn't even put in an attempt. The moment I saw Nightmare mode on my title screen, I uninstalled the fucking game. I could not even begin to handle the mental anguish that would fall upon me as a consequence of trying that. No thank you, I'm good. But lucky for us, there is a custom night that introduces some new characters. Kipper, Dipper, and Martin. Kipper and Dipper are canonically Mary and Rascal's kids. Their mechanic is really easy. When you see them in your doorway, flip up your camera and flip it back down. That's it. Since they look like Mary and Rascal, I think the goal was to get you to think they were Mary and Rascal and cause you to turn the lights on, killing you. But it really isn't that hard to tell the difference. Martin is also very easy. Martin will spawn on any camera at random. All you have to do is find him and stare him down until he temporarily goes away. Easy. There's also these little random puppets that show up in front of your face, and you'll have to boop their noses to make them go away. I don't really understand the point of them, but I guess I'll go with it. Props to Frogger and Shooter for actually beating this shit show of a custom night. I'm well aware others have beaten it, but Frogger was the first victor, and I just like watching Shooter's content. So congrats, guys. I don't know why you did this to yourself. I'm sure that the anguish and the pain of doing this will surely be retroactively laid off on your future wife and children. But that's Mary's Arcade. There's technically a death minigame that plays sometimes upon a loss, but the creator of the game said there's not really a storyline to this game like most other FNAF games have, so I don't think diving into it is super necessary. Let me know what you guys think about Mary's Arcade in the comments below. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. In the last video, I asked you all if you thought Five Nights at Candy's 4 would ever come out, and if you thought it would be good. My favorite answer is this one from That Unlucky Gamer. They said they thought it would be like a Duke Nukem Forever type situation, where people waited a really long time for its release, only for it to be a bag of dicks. While I personally have hopes that the game will be good, I personally don't believe we'll ever get it. As far as I'm aware, we've gone 2 years without an update, so my hopes of it coming out aren't super high. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Five Nights at Freddy's fanverse, and I'm sure you know of the questionable character that took part in it, but that's not what this video will be talking about. Maybe I'll cover that hot mess another day. Today, I want to tell you all about a creator from the Fanverse initiative that was forced to remove all of his FNAF related projects, why, and most importantly, my favorite game that he made, which is now banned. To start, I want to clarify, because some of you may be wondering, how are you talking about this game and how do you have gameplay of you playing it on your second channel Dxtr Black, which everyone watching should definitely subscribe to, if the game has been banned? Well, that's because people are awesome and have not only archived the game in question that I'll be talking about today, but all games that this creator was forced to remove. The game we'll be talking about today is the banned FNAF game, but also, hands down, one of the scariest FNAF fan games I've ever played, A Shadow Over Freddy's. Before we begin, I'd like to say that I don't make FNAF videos. I make horror game videos. I've just recently been finding so many FNAF games that I've been wanting to talk about. And I will be moving the question of the video winner to the end of the video to hopefully not interrupt and ruin people's experience of the video. Hope you understand, and let's go. A Shadow Over Freddy's begins with some dialogue explaining that we wake up in a dark room and that all we can hear is the low buzz of a metal fan. If you couldn't guess, this room in question is the office from Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Before saying, quote, "Leave immediately before the shadows that have devoured this abandoned building come to consume you as well." We're shown that we have 5 nights remaining, and now we're thrown into the main gameplay loop. A Shadow Over Freddy's is a semi-free roam game where you walk around the pizzeria from FNAF 1. Each night has a different task for you to complete, and as the nights go on, more and more threats are added for you to keep track of. Night 1's objective is simple: find the exit. This game is incredibly accurate to the building we see in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, minus 2 specific things. There's a break room for employees which is located right next to the back room, and an arcade area that's right next to the kitchen door. I guess you could make the argument that there were arcades in FNAF 1, since you really never got a good angle of that part of the pizzeria, but fuck you. I've never seen anyone else do it, so I'm gonna say it's not accurate to the original. Other than that, if you know the FNAF 1 location, you'll be able to move around the area quite easily. A moment ago I said that this game was semi-free roam. I say this because while yes, it is free roam, it's not free roam in the way that other free roam games are. You're still moving from screen to screen like you do in Sister Location, but there's no set path you're forced to take and you can go wherever you'd like. You're equipped with a flashlight and you'll very soon notice that the pizzeria is dark. Like, really fucking dark. Like the night. Like black. Like charcoal black. Batman black, some would even say. So, seeing isn't super easy. To move around, you just have to point your mouse at the area you want to go and click to advance to that area. Pretty simple. Where does the threat come in? There are 2 threats prevalent in Night 1, the clock and Freddy. The clock is pretty simple. Rather than having to survive until 6 a.m. like in most FNAF games, you only have until 6 a.m. to complete the task you have to complete. If it reaches 6 a.m. and you still haven't completed your task, the game is over. As each night goes on, the clock moves faster and faster. The other threat this night introduces is Freddy. Freddy has the chance to appear in any room that you are in. When you see him in your room, you have to point your flashlight at him until he goes away. And this is when you'll notice that the animatronics in this game aren't really animatronics. Instead, they're shadows. Get it? Like A Shadow Over Freddy's? Like the name of the fucking game? Laugh. You better fucking laugh. Here's something I found interesting about Freddy, and 2 of the other animatronics in this game. Unlike most FNAF games where your reaction time needs to be on point, there's really no need for that in A Shadow Over Freddy's. The animatronics don't care if you're standing right next to them for 10 years. Instead, if you move to another area of the map while Freddy was previously in the same spot you were, that's when he'll attack you. So now you start to understand why the clock will eventually become a huge problem. Because every time you enter a new area, which I promise you is very often, you'll have to do a full 360, moving your light up and down to make sure Freddy isn't in the room with you. And with how slowly you turn, I promise, the experience will not be very enjoyable. Another thing to note about Freddy, he's very quiet. Typically when I talk about FNAF games, I almost always mention the sound cues the characters have. But not Freddy. Freddy has no sound cue letting you know that he's in the same area as you, at least not from what I could tell. So you'll really have to give yourself terrible motion sickness as you crank 90s in every fucking square inch of the pizzeria. Now, the objective. Each night has a different one, and night 1's is just to find the exit of the establishment. If you know the FNAF 1 layout, you should know where to go. Go out of the hall, walk into the party room, walk to the opposite wall of where you entered, and go to the right corner of the room by the bathrooms, and there you'll find the exit door. Walk through, and notice that the exit has been boarded up. Shit. As you attempt to turn around to find a new exit, this happens. That right there, if you can't tell, is the marionette. Oh, lanky fuck. When you see the marionette in A Shadow Over Freddy's, this is how you know you've successfully completed the objective of the night and will be moving on to the next one. But not before the puppet offers to tell you a story to clear your mind. I'm not going to explain the story to you, I think it'd be much better if you just experienced it for yourself. There once was a little kid who liked to play with his toys by his lonesome. He lived with his family in a small peaceful house outside of town surrounded by forestry. The home's backyard was his personal stage, where he played with his figurines of various shapes and sizes, making plays which were acted out for his enjoyment alone. Although he was alone, he was content in living out his youth playing with the plastic friends his parents had gifted him with. They were a small mannequin, a stuffed teddy bear, a porcelain dress-up doll, and a toy robot. But one day, the family's pet dog stole one of his toys during his playtime. Into the woods, he excitedly ran away with the toy robot, prompting the kid to chase after him to reclaim his friend. Annoyed by the dog's playful attitude, the kid caught up. Grabbing the toy from the thief's mouth, he began to pull. Oh, to be young and carefree. A kid and his dog playing tug of war in the back garden of their house with no one to interrupt them. Seems like a wonderful memory, doesn't it? The dog, excited to receive the attention it craved from the young master of the house, refused to lose this game they found themselves playing. The toy robot was almost free from the dog's mouth when... Relieved to have gotten his friend back, the kid wiped the pool of drool off the toy robot with the bottom of his shirt. He walked back home, leaving the animal twitching helplessly on the grass, with barely enough room left in its swollen neck to let out a pitiful, dry howl. The kid, arriving back out from the trees, positioned the toy robot back where it was on his makeshift stage and continued playing. Later that afternoon, the parents had found the body of the dog. They buried it where it stood. A brief overview. A young boy liked to create plays with his toys. One day, the family dog took a toy robot that the boy used and ran into the woods. The boy chased after the dog and began to fight for the toy back before eventually breaking the dog's neck to get his toy and leaving the dog writhing on the ground while the boy left it there to die. Already setting up a pretty fucked storyline. Goddamn. Can confirm my mind is not cleared, shithead. I do want you to keep that boy from the story in mind as it's very important for the rest of the game. After each night, the marionette will tell you a story, each story a continuation of the other, so you'll be hearing a lot more about this boy. Night's 2 objective is follow the music. On this night, you're introduced to a new mechanic, and a new threat is presented to you. Leaning is the new mechanic. Before moving to a new area of the pizzeria, you can hold right-click on an area to lean in and listen closely to the sounds of said area. Since it's so dark, seeing in front of you, even with a flashlight, is quite literally impossible. So leaning is what you'll have to use to make sure you don't bump into any threats. Which leads me to my next talking point. The threat introduced in Night 2. Bonnie. Bonnie works pretty interestingly. Bonnie will patrol the perimeter of the pizzeria, meaning that if you stay towards the center and never follow a wall, Bonnie will never be an issue for you. But then of course, you also have to bring up the fact that since you can't see very well at all, when you're in the center of the party room, every single area looks exactly the same, with only small differences in the party tables to let you know your position. It will become incredibly easy to get turned around and lose your position in the mental map you've been building. But how do you deal with Bonnie, you might be asking? Well, I don't know why you're asking. You're watching a video, not a live stream, so I can't answer questions live. You're just lucky enough that I happened to predict that you'd ask that, so let me explain it to you. Unlike Freddy, Bonnie has sound cues. Just like Freddy, there's a small chance that he'll spawn in the same area of the building that you are in which case you'll have to shine your flashlight at him to make him go away. If he's in the same area as you when you attempt to leave, same thing as Freddy, he'll kill you. I will say that him appearing in the same area as you is, from what I could tell, pretty low. Instead, you should be more afraid of walking directly into him. This is where leaning comes in handy. Before moving to a new area of the pizzeria, you'll need to lean into that area and listen for Bonnie's sound cue, which just sounds like he has asthma. If you hear Bonnie in one area of the pizzeria that you were going to move into, don't dipshit. Instead, maneuver your way around him. This, entwined with Freddy's checking and the clock progressively getting faster and faster as the nights go on, really start to add to the stress. You enter a new area, do your full 360 checking for Freddy. No Freddy? Awesome. Let's go west. Lean and listen for about 3 seconds. Fuck. Bonnie's there. That's the direction I wanted to go. Alright, let's go north instead. Alright, since I needed to head west, I'll try to go west again. Lean and listen. God damn it. Bonnie moved north as well. Now I have to move back down, and this can repeat multiple times, and time is not on your side. Now to talk about the objective of night 2, follow the music. It's really in place to teach you about leaning more than anything, as I failed to come up with any sort of lore implication as to why music would be playing, aside from the fact that you see the marionette at the end of each night. So when you lean into a new area, you'll most likely hear faint music playing. In most cases, there will be at least 3 areas you can always move to. You'll check each direction and listen for which way the music is the loudest. Whichever way is the loudest, that's which direction you'll go. The music leads you to 4 locations. First it leads you to the stage, then it leads you to the bathrooms, then Pirate's Cove, and finally the back room, wherein you see the marionette again, ending the night. Again, it's not a super difficult night, really just preparing you for what's to come. Before moving on to night 3, the marionette offers to tell us another story. This story I tell you is a true story I pray you never forget. There once was a boy who laid awake at night during a harsh downpour. Beneath the covers of his bed, he closed his eyes and tried to ignore the storm just outside his room. Enveloped in darkness, a sensation of creeping discomfort kept him from falling asleep. The roars of the storm were nothing compared to the restlessness that the shadows cast from the window gave him. He felt eyes watching him from afar. The boy opened his eyes and looked towards the window, but nothing was there. He tried to go back to sleep. He opened his eyes again, and out of the corner of his eye he spotted it. The hollow, white eyes of a living shadow. It appeared just as quickly as it went away, his uneasiness pushed aside by growing curiosity. The boy got up from his bed and approached the window. From out the glass he could see it, the silhouette of an animal, darker than the night around it and void of color even when light struck its frame, running off into the trees with a familiar object stuck in its mouth. His favorite toy, stolen again, being carried towards the forest. The boy couldn't help but follow along the shadow's path. The night air was freezing, brazen winds carrying countless droplets that hit the skin like marbles, their impact deafening any other sound other than the imposing thunder. Call it premonition, but he knew where the shadow had gone to. That place at the edge of the forest where he had last left the family dog. He was sure he would find it. Standing in front of the grave once more, the eyes from the shadow had gone away. In its stead, the twice stolen toy now lay on top of the muddy mount, but this time it was moving. Its tiny plastic arms flailing violently from side to side, its head rotating in place. The movements were sudden but clear. Unprompted by any outside influence, a spark of life was trapped inside this tiny vessel, Fascinated by such a discovery, he picked up the toy from the ground and held it tightly with both hands to prevent it from escaping his grasp. Smiling from ear to ear, the boy headed back home. Sick. So the boy saw the shadow of his dog in the window of his bedroom holding his toy again. He went out to the grave where the dog was buried and found the toy again, only to notice that it was moving on its own. So the dog possessed the toy robot. Interesting. We'll keep that in the back of our minds. Now let's move on to night 3's objective, enter the kitchen. If it wasn't obvious, all you have to do in this night is find a way into the kitchen. But of course, as I bet you suspected, a new threat is introduced, and judging by the theme of the night, I'm betting you can guess who it is. Chica. Chica's mechanic is incredibly similar to Bonnie's. Rather than patrolling the perimeter of the building, Chica instead patrols the center. So no matter where you are in the building, you're always at a risk of bumping into an animatronic. The way you can tell if Chica is in front of you is the same as Bonnie. Just lean into the area and listen for Chica's sound cue, which you'll be able to tell is notably different from Bonnie's. There's only one other small difference between Bonnie and Chica. If you stay in one area for too long, Chica will just walk into the same area as you. And if you don't flash her before moving to another area, it's game over. Now, I have a theory. I think originally Chica was meant to be the exact same as Bonnie, except she patrols the middle of the map. But Fiznom added the moving mechanic to prevent a soft lock that can easily happen. Let me tell you about it. So, I should say that Bonnie and Chica can go anywhere in the building. It's just much more common for them to patrol their previously stated areas. And because of this, if you're in one of two specific areas, those two being the stage and Pirate's Cove, you might notice something interesting. There's only two directions you can possibly move in, and there's a pretty common chance that both Bonnie and Chica will be in both of these areas that you can move to, and that you would literally be unable to move without dying, since the animatronics only move when you move. So, I believe that Chica's movement mechanic was added specifically so that if you were to get stuck in a situation like that, you could stand in place and wait for Chica to move into your area, flash her, and then move to the area that she was previously in. Doesn't sound too hard, and it isn't, but this brings up another mechanic in this game that I've failed to mention thus far. In A Shadow Over Freddy's, there's this super epic, radical, and cool mechanic where if you stay in one area for a prolonged period of time, the clock will actually begin to move faster the longer you stay in an area. So constantly moving is the best way to slow the clock down. But of course, as I just mentioned, there's a chance that Bonnie and Chica will body block you all seductive-like, licking their lips and shit, and make you wait upwards of 10 seconds for Chica to move to your area. And 10 seconds is enough to make the clock speed up dramatically. So here's a tip. Unless you absolutely have to, try to avoid going on stage and to Pirate's Cove. Now for the objective, entering the kitchen. You'll notice that if you just try to go to the kitchen and open the door that you can't. However, you may also notice that a key outline has appeared at the bottom of your screen. This is to let you know that there is an item you need to pick up, in this night obviously being a key. This key is located in the break room that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Once you make it there, you grab the key off a key rack and make your way back to the kitchen, where you can then unlock the door and go inside, where you'll find the marionette yet again, ending the night. But before we can move on to night 4, we have to listen to another story, so buckle up, grab some warm milk and a Banky, and let's listen to this shit. There once was a young man who had grown hungry for knowledge. Growing into adolescence, he had isolated himself from his family, focusing instead on his passion for the unknown, the spiritual, the place of mystery he had come to know years ago. In a box under his bed, he hid his secret away from all others, his living plastic friend, still thrashing and writhing inside. Every night he observed his movements intently. The young man spent entire days away from home, reading and studying about spirits and vessels. His interest turned into obsession, and his need to understand grew. Alas, it was all for naught, as no book had the key to the answers he'd been seeking. All he found were vague rumors and legends with no instructions or explanations. Since he was a kid, the young man never saw his dad as anything more than an obstacle. He was a moody, aggressive old alcoholic who only talked to his son when he needed something to shout at. Having driven everyone that loved him away, the drunkard was worth less than nothing in the eyes of the boy. Thus, he was the perfect candidate. One day, when coming home, seeing the old man sprawled out onto the kitchen table with a bottle in hand, he decided to show dear old daddy a new way of life. Holding a small felt doll in his right hand, the teen made his way to the house's garage. After a few hours, the deed was done and the plan in action. The boy watched his oblivious father drive away in his car, unaware of the tampering that had been done to the vehicle. Sitting on his bed, the young man took his dear pet out of the box and began to press harshly on its square plastic head. As it trembled in pain, he waited on the outcome of his small experiment. Oh, the humanity. After a car accident, he recovered the doll that had been planted below the seat and returned to his home. Placing it on his desk, he watched it closely for that same spark that remained inside his robotic friend. But much to his frustration, no movement came from the doll. Nothing. The vessel he had prepared for his father was empty, devoid of even a single remnant of life. Furious by his failure, he ripped the felt doll apart and threw it aside. What a waste. From then on, he was free of the shackles of his drunken caretaker, but without the trophy he had planned to take from his monstrous act of sabotage, unflinching in his resolve and with no guilt in his empty heart, he contemplated what to do next. He killed his dad. Holy shit. How does a child know how to cut the brakes to a car? Beyond me. But let's move on to Night 4. Night 4 has the objective of find the pieces, and this is, in my opinion, the most difficult night in the whole game. But that might also be because it took me an embarrassingly long time to complete, and because of the addition of the final threat this game has to offer, Foxy. Foxy is a bitch. He's such a bitch. Let me tell you about this fuckhead. I personally never died to him, but that's because I was so paranoid about him, I made sure to keep him in complete check. Foxy, as I'm sure you could have guessed, is in Pirate's Cove. As the night goes on, you'll have to continuously go and check on him by pulling open his curtain and flashing your light at him. Thankfully, once he gets close to coming out, he plays a sound cue letting you know to get your silly ass over there and check on him. But holy shit, with how slow movement between areas is, having to check for Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica if you're on the other side of the map as Foxy as he plays his song, the spastic mad dash you have to make to the other side of the building is enough to send you into cardiac arrest, I swear to God. But for the objective, collecting the pieces. Scattered throughout the pizzeria are 5 pieces to a golden Freddy plushie. You have to move around the pizzeria and find them all, which can be pretty fucking hard. Even though they're pretty big, there were 2 I looked right at but didn't see. That's probably because the whole game is totally black and white, so making things out is obviously harder than it usually would be. You have to collect 2 legs, 2 arms, and a head. You might be wondering about the body. Don't worry, we'll get to that later. The limb locations are as follows: in the kitchen, on the stage, in the back room, and on the table next to Pirate's Cove. The head can be found in the exit area from Night 1. Thankfully, there's no specific order you have to grab them in. So, my first thought was to immediately go to the kitchen, then the exit room, then walk across the stage, and then hit the back room before quickly booking it back to Foxy to check on him and pick up the last limb, since I fully believe that is possible to do before Foxy gets out. But Foxy isn't the biggest issue in this night. No, the biggest issue in every night is Bonnie and Chica, those fuckers. Freddy, in all honesty, throughout my playthrough, barely showed up at all, which I appreciated. But Bonnie and Chica, oh my god, it's like they were fucking scheming between nights. They knew my path each time. Oh, he wants to go to the exit room? Well, let's go right in front of it and to the side of it so that he has to backtrack 2 rooms to be able to try and get to the exit from another angle. But once he backtracks a room, let's body block him so that he has to backtrack 2 more rooms. Fuck him, right? Oh no, now he spent too much time dealing with us fuckers that Foxy's about to bust all over his face. So now he's got to get to Foxy before continuing. You want to know what would be drop shit fucking hilarious? If we body blocked him every fucking room on the way there. Fucking rolling on the floor laughing ass animatronics. Fuck. So needless to say, I never got to put my perfect plan into action, and I spent most of the night going from one side of the building to the other. This is why this night is so hard. But once you've got all the pieces, we get to listen to another story. There once was a sick, twisted monster who stalked its victims from the shadows, its heart far gone from its body. The putrid, parasitic individual lived for the hunt, to capture and corrupt the weak, all for the sake of satisfying its disgusting pleasures. Tonight was no different. Amidst the rain, this vile vampire of society spotted a young girl, left outside the entrance to a family restaurant. She looked in from a window as the other kids inside had fun and celebrated without her. The monster approached the girl from behind, its body trembling in anticipation to savor the perfect opportunity that had been laid out in front of it. Maybe, if some humanity was still lingering inside, if some shred of dignity had remained in its hollow heart, it would have felt pity for her. Maybe it could have sympathized with her situation. It stood still, inches away from her, its hands reaching out for her back, the sound of its breathing masked by the downpour surrounding them. The child felt a chill run down her spine. She saw its eyes looking at her in the reflection of the glass. She slowly turned around to face the figure towering over her. You rotten, ignorant, heartless creature. You left that innocent girl in that alley to die a cold, lonesome death. Your hands were tinted red with her blood, colorless in your empty eyes, and you felt nothing but satisfaction from taking her life. And for what? You don't remember? We all know that's not true. These meetings have been merely a formality. If it were up to me, I would have left you alone to be torn apart by your captors, limb by limb, just like you tore the life away from her that night, tossing her into the trash after capturing the fragments of her presence. But now it's time for you to feel her pain, to feel the pain that all your victims suffered. Rotten hell, William Afton, alongside the shadows of your past.
That's right. If you hadn't put the pieces together already, we're playing as William Afton, and the story that's been being told is William's childhood, and what led him to becoming the man he became. I think that this reveal is fucking brilliant. I absolutely love it. I think this is something that Five Nights at Freddy's should have done. You never learn why William is the way he is. You're just meant to accept that he's a murderer, which is never the case with actual murderers. I'm aware he had a reason as to why he murdered the kids, but normal people don't murder, period. You can always go back in their past and pick up on small hints that something isn't right in their development, and in a lot of cases, harming animals is one of the earliest signs. Look at Jeffrey Dahmer, who mutilated animals in the woods to study their insides. Giving Afton this bit of story, while generally simple, provides so much more meaning behind the actions that he made in the main games, and I really hope the new FNAF game Into the Pit does something like this. I love it. But now, we get to move on to the final night of this game. No, there's no sixth night. This is it. Night 5, with the most simple objective of all. Run. This night is batshit insane. Not only is there way more static on screen, there's also finally some color, albeit only red. This night makes every animatronic the most aggressive it's ever been, aside from Foxy, who isn't active at all, but that's for good reason. Every location you move to sends you to a completely random area of the pizzeria. You'd think to run to the exit, but the moment you step out of your office, you're teleported to a totally random area. And maybe you eventually find the exit, but as you run through the doors, you realize you get teleported back onto the other side of the pizzeria. And if you thought the clock was moving quickly on previous nights, you're not ready for how quickly that shit goes down in night 5. In order to win, you have to randomly teleport through rooms for long enough that you eventually get teleported inside the bathroom, which only has one exit. Once you leave the bathroom through that one exit is when you finally get teleported back to the office and win. But holy fucking shit, I have stuff to complain about before we get that far. Let me start by completely disregarding Freddy. He might as well not even be in this game with how infrequently he appears. But holy shit, Bonnie and Chica make me want to stick my dick in a toaster, holy god. It does not matter how quick you are. I think I established the fastest possible strategy for optimally doing 360s and checking rooms that you can possibly have in this game. But it doesn't matter how fast you are. There's one enormous factor of luck that you can't overlook. Pirates Cove and the stage. Remember the Bonnie and Chica body blocking I mentioned earlier with these two areas? Yeah, those two areas are choke points of this night.
And the worst part? There's nothing you can do about it because every location is randomized. There's no pattern to map out in your head because every time you teleport, the entrances and exits get randomized again. Generally speaking, you have 2 shitty teleports that you can go through, and that's considering you've run into rooms where the first area you lean into doesn't have Bonnie or Chica in it. If you've had to check 3 locations before transferring to one of the rooms you've been in, which I promise you happens very often, then you really only have 1 shitty teleport that you can fall into safely. Why? Because again, the longer you stay in one area, the faster the clock moves. If you end up getting teleported to the stage or Pirate's Cove, there's a non-zero chance that Chica will take her sweet fucking time entering your area, almost guaranteeing that if you get sent to a shit area, that 1 hour is almost 100% going to pass while waiting. That's just how fucking fast the clock is on this night. If you get sent to the stage twice, you might as well just reset the game because there's no chance you'll transfer through enough rooms after that before it hits 6 a.m. Oh my fuck, then I still have to talk about the music. As you transfer through areas, you'll begin to hear music playing softly, but as you transfer through more rooms, the music gets louder and louder, making it fucking impossible to hear Bonnie, and I mean Bonnie specifically. Chica tends to be pretty fucking loud so you can figure out where she is pretty quick, but Bonnie's sound cue is so quiet most of the time that every time you end up leaning, you'll have to wait a good 3 seconds to make sure you don't hear him, and I cannot stress enough how much time 3 seconds is on this night when the clock moves at fucking Mach 40. So by the time it's 5 a.m., you're almost done. The music is blaring in your ears so goddamn loud you think your eardrum might fucking rupture. Your leg is bouncing so fast and your heart is pounding so hard you can feel it throughout your whole torso. And you can hear it echoing throughout your skull, making it more and more difficult to focus on listening for Bonnie's sound cue. When finally you realize you've entered the bathroom as fast as you can, you whip around to the exit of the bathroom and you find yourself in the office. All has gone quiet. The red tint has gone away. It's calm. For once. For once, you stop shaking. You take a deep exhale that you've been holding in for the last minute, and your heart rate decreases. As you look around the room you're in, you'll realize the torso of the plushie you collected pieces to on night 4 laid on the desk in front of you. You don't know why you've been collecting the pieces. You just know that it's something that you've had to do. You grab the final piece, and then That's the ending of A Shadow Over Freddy's. I've said games were masterpieces before, but this one has to take the cake. The gameplay was never overwhelmingly difficult, and it was overall a simple concept, but this game shows you that the only thing that matters in game design is execution, and this game knocked that out of the park tenfold. This is by far my favorite FNAF fan game I've ever played up until this point. The moment I saw the Afton reveal, I just knew I had to make a video about it. I couldn't keep myself from telling someone, anyone about it, and I thank you greatly for making it this far. But I still have some more to talk about, so if you're interested, I urge you to stick around a little bit longer. You might notice on a first playthrough that upon beating Night 5, you're greeted to a screen of the plushie you built with text telling you that something is missing. And this is the part where I tell you that there's been smaller objectives I've failed to talk about thus far. The plushies of the other animatronics. Each night has a different plushie that you can find. Whichever character is introduced on a night, that's which plushie you'll have to find. Night 1 is obviously Freddy, as he's the only one who's active. You can find his plushie on the stage. On Night 2, you can find Bonnie's plushie in the storage closet in the hall. Night 3, you can find Chica's plushie in the right hall. And on Night 4, you can find Foxy's plushie in the break room. Once you've collected all of them, you'll unlock Custom Night. I personally didn't play it, but you can obviously set the main 4's AI value from 0 to 20, and you can also select up to 5 plushies you collected throughout the main game to go collect. I can only imagine that the night consists of you going to the areas you found the plushies before and collecting all of them again to finish the night while dealing with all the animatronics at the same time like in Night 4. A super simple but nice addition to an already amazing game. I also mentioned that I thought Night 4 was more difficult than Night 5. Here's my reasoning for that. Mainly because of Foxy and the fact that you don't have to worry about where you're going. Removing Foxy from Night 5 was obviously the right decision to make, because if you didn't, the night would literally be impossible because of how random it is. But you also have to take into account that in Night 4, there are very specific areas you have to go to, and that makes Bonnie and Chica body blocking you matter way more than in Night 5, as if they body block you in Night 4, you have to actively maneuver your way around them to get to where you need to go. In Night 5, it doesn't matter where you go, as long as you go. Generally, I think Night 5 is a better night than Night 4, just because of the run objective and how sporadic it feels, really setting the fact that you are panicked and you have nowhere to run. But Night 5 is in no way more difficult than Night 4, just more luck dependent. And the last thing I have to talk about, why was a game like this, a game that seems so perfect, forced to be taken down? Well, as mentioned, Fiznom was invited to be part of the Fanverse initiative by Scott Cawthon, and he accepted. He was the one who started work on the infamous Five Nights at Freddy's Plus. However, during the work on that game, he decided he wanted to spend time on himself and his mental health and stepped away from the Fanverse, leaving it entirely, which is why FNAF Plus was never released. And because of the contract that he signed, he was forced to remove all of his Five Nights at Freddy's fan games he's ever made, even games he made while not in the Fanverse, one of those games being A Shadow Over Freddy's. I have no idea the terms of the contract, and I can't see why they'd have him remove games he's made, but regardless, that's what happened and where we're at now. And if you want to know, Fiznom is still active just on YouTube with his channel where he makes some pretty good videos, so I recommend you go check that out. I'll link him in the description. But thankfully, people have archived the amazing projects he has put together. But that was A Shadow Over Freddy's. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Before I go, in the last video I asked you all what your favorite memory from the Joy of Creation story mode was, and my favorite answer was this one by Joker of Spades. They chose the third night simply because it's funny that Bonnie punches the camera. Not a super detailed reason, but it was enough to make me laugh.
Polish in Five Nights at Freddy's games. What do you think makes a game polished? Maybe it's clean graphics, a good story, or perfect balancing? Well, of course, the answer is obviously all of these things together. And today, we're going to be talking about a game incredibly polished. The game in question is Saturday Night at Freddy's, one of the newest FNAF fan games to come out this year, with a lot of hype behind it. I can promise you that it definitely lives up to all of it. Strap in because we've got a lot to talk about, so join me today as we dive into the world of Saturday Night at Freddy's. Before we even start talking about what's actually inside of this game, we need to mention the opening cutscene that this game has. We're in the POV of what I can only imagine is inside of a Freddy suit. We see something close the door to the room we're in. I have no idea what this is, but it does look very interesting, to say the least. We look around for a while and then the cutscene ends and we're booted into the menu only to hear literally the best menu music I've ever heard since Chica's Party World. I'm not kidding. This game has some of the best music you will ever hear. It's so fucking good. But of course, now it's time for us to actually dive into the game. Psych! Stupid idiot moron! There's yet another cutscene before the actual game starts. In it, we see the newspaper, as most FNAF games tend to have, and there's actually some voice acting, which I will admit I'm a pretty big fan of. Basically, there's this girl who we play as who is behind on rent. She says a guy named Benny disappeared and she never wanted to go back to Freddy's. Who the fuck is Benny? I have no idea, but whatever. She ends up going back to Freddy's because that sounded like a better option than being a stripper, and OnlyFans didn't quite exist yet in this timeline. And now we can jump into the first night, which, by the way, the newspaper also says the job pays $30 a night, which is actually just robbery. I'd rather be poor. We get to watch an informational tape before the night begins, which really just explains how to deal with the first threat. But a little detail I noticed is that when this tape cuts to static, we get to see the faint outline of a certain golden bear. Anyways, moving on to the night section. We get a phone call on this night, but it's pretty worthless. The only interesting thing he says is that there are rumors that the animatronics are possessed. Who would have thought? Something interesting about this game is that it goes by hours instead of nights like Locked at Freddy's, and this game starts at 1 a.m. instead of 12 a.m., so that's cool. Moving on to the tools at our disposal, we do have quite a bit to talk about. Let's start by talking about the camera system, since it's a little bit different from what we're used to seeing. To start, it's powered by old-ass fuses, which is giving me flashbacks of Swing Shift at Farley's. The PTSD I have from this channel and making these videos is insane, by the way. Anyways, the camera has two fuses. Only one fuse can decrease power at a time. You'll have to switch fuses throughout the night to stop yourself from losing power. When you switch, the fuse you're not using will be slowly charged. You can also charge them a little faster manually. Pretty simple. Something I love, except I'm lying and I actually hate, is that the cameras don't have a map, and you have to manually cycle through them, memorizing where everything is by tap patterns, which is just always something I personally dislike doing in these games. But whatever, I guess I'll just have to put on my big boy pants and deal with it. Your fuses can also become overloaded, but I'll talk more about that when it becomes relevant. There are 3 entrances to our office, which really just makes me feel like I'm a little monkey in a zoo being watched from all angles. To our left, we have a door that we can hold closed. Pretty standard FNAF stuff, if you ask me. In front of us is a window with a wooden sliding door that we can also hold shut. And to our right, we have a giant gaping vent like my butthole after burrito night. You can't close this vent, which is just the worst thing in the entire world. I swear, only vents in FNAF games don't have covers on them. This is so stupid. Of course, we have a flashlight that we can use to blind the children in the play area when they get too rowdy. It has no battery life, so you don't have to worry about that. One other thing to note about the office is that you can see a clock in the deepest, darkest corner of the fucking room that you can barely see. And when you hover your mouse over it, it'll obviously tell you what time it is. And I said that each hour in this game is equivalent to a normal FNAF night, so it'll look like it's moving a lot slower than other games. Alright, with all of that out of the way, we can move on to talking about the totally wonderful threats this night introduces, as it adds 2 characters to start off the show. This is actually something I prefer from other FNAF games. I get the idea of only wanting to introduce 1 character a night, and while I think that's good in practice, I do think the first night shouldn't only have 1 character. Just because this community has gotten so used to these types of games that night 1s tend to be boring. Unless it's a game like Juniors or After Hours at Cody's, which adds something something completely different to the loop, then you can get away with only introducing one a night. But I don't make the rules. Do whatever the fuck you want with your games. This is just my opinion, which for some reason I have to say out loud because people are retarded. Anyways, moving on. Hour 1 introduces Endo, which is an endoskeleton, and Freddy, surprisingly. Usually they don't bust that big busty boy out until later in the game, but hey, I'm all for it. Let's start by talking about Freddy since he's more simple. Freddy will walk around the bar. Yes, by the way, the building we're in is a bar, so I can get absolutely crunk whenever I want to, which is just amazing. Hey, you come here often?
Fuck you!
Okay. Anyways, Freddy will make his way to your left door. Once he gets there, all you have to do is close it, obviously, until he slams his ass against it, and then you can open it again. But the attack isn't over quite yet. He has a chance after attacking your door to walk up to your window with a sick-ass animation that I'm in love with. Please keep doing animations like this. It makes me so happy, guys. But of course, if he does come over to the window, all you have to do is close that as well until he slams his penis into it like a baseball bat. But instead of a baseball bat, it's his penis, like I just said. Holy shit, I think I'm losing it. These jokes don't even make sense anymore. I'm just saying shit, bro. Something about Freddy, however, that really tickles me red, get it? As opposed to tickle me pink, which is like a saying for when you're flustered or something. No? Okay, I'll just kill myself. Anyways, he makes no sound cue when he gets to your door, and you can't just naturally see him there without flashing your light there, which is literally just the most annoying thing in the world. I think I've been spoiled too much from playing games with sound cues that now when there aren't any, it just feels wrong and evil and cruel. The next one introduced is the endoskeleton I mentioned earlier. He works in pretty much word for word, bar for bar, the exact same way as Freddy with a few minor differences. To start, when he attacks your door like Freddy, he will never walk to the window right afterwards, except he does have a separate attack where he attacks your window directly. As opposed to Freddy's window attack, Endo has 3 phases in your window before you're actually in danger of him killing you. If you close the window before he reaches the 3rd phase, it will stall Endo in place. So you really just want to wait until he's trying to sneak a peek in your pants before you close the window on him. Strategy on this night is obviously easy. Just close shit when you need to. Both Freddy and Endo can attack you at the same time, but because Endo has multiple window phases, just deal with Freddy first and it's GG, no problem. And of course, Freddy will never go to the window without attacking your door first. Saturday Night at Freddy's has no post-night minigames. However, it does have a post-hour cutscene, which actually adds a feeling of realism to the world. In this post-1 a.m. cutscene, our character goes to the phone to call for help because obviously the robots are trying to kill her. I can't believe it took the community this many years to make a character who isn't retarded and doesn't want to be here. The phone doesn't end up working and she obviously panics and says she doesn't want to walk around the bar while the characters are roaming, which is also incredibly fair, and I would probably think the same thing too. This is undoubtedly the safest place for the time being. So with that, let's move on to hour 2. Moving on to hour 2, we've got 2 new threats to talk about. Honestly, I'm a little surprised we've already got 4 characters to deal with, but hey, I'm all for it. Who could it be? I don't know why I'm asking you guys this question. I'm the one doing the review. I should probably tell you. Bonnie and Foxy. It's Bonnie and Foxy that are introduced during this hour. Let's start by talking about Foxy since he makes my blood boil. And I happen to piss blood most of the time, so it really just makes that experience very unpleasant. More so than pissing blood by itself already is. Foxy has 2 ways to attack you. On top of that, he's also an eye slut, which just makes me want to smother an owl. The first way he'll attack is pretty simple. He'll charge at your door and just kind of stare at you. Nothing crazy about that. Once he gets into your office, all you have to do is make sure you don't look at him because he has autism and eye contact makes him uncomfortable. Now, his other attack is interesting. First of all, I should mention that Foxy is in a box. Why do they lock him away like some feral fucker? Well, that's probably because he's a feral fucker. Call him Foxy the Pirate Software. Anyways, he'll start doing a little jiggy inside of his box. Of course, if you're not looking at him, he's gonna move. This second attack has him go for your vent. Once Foxy enters your vent, a sound cue will play. Thank God, I guess it's just Freddy who's an asshole about that then. When you see him in the vent, what you have to do is really weird and was incredibly confusing to figure out, as the game has a little bit of post-shift 2 syndrome and chooses not to fucking tell you what it is you have to do, so that's just wonderful. What you have to do when you see Foxy in your vent is go into the cameras and spam click the fuse power button to overload your fuses. I don't really understand why this makes Foxy go away, but it does, so just do it. The other threat introduced on this night is Bonnie, who is pretty simple overall. Bonnie only has one way of attacking, but it will really feel like 3 separate ways. I know that doesn't make sense, but shut the fuck up, I'm about to explain it to you. Bonnie can attack any of the 3 entrances to your office. When he shows up in either your door, window, or vent, all you have to do is hold your flashlight on him and he'll go away. I really wish it was more interesting, but it really isn't. That is what I would say if his window attack wasn't just a little bit different. When Bonnie chooses to attack the window, you will both be able to see him and hear him walking across the window over to your door. When he's doing this, you obviously still have to hold the light on him, but you have to be fast enough and do it before he reaches the left side of the window. Is this any different than his other attacks? No, it's just the same thing except there's an animation, but it looks cool, so I'm gonna talk about it anyways. Now we get to talk about the post-night 2 minigame, which I know I said there wasn't any post-night minigames. I don't know how you guys haven't figured out that I constantly fucking lie to you, but I'm lying again. Anyways, for some reason this game calls it the post-hour 1 minigame. It's literally post-hour 2, but fuck it, we ball. In this minigame, we get a checklist of things we have to do before the night ends. It's really just deleting files, but of course, we've got some threats to deal with as well, so let's go over those. There are 3 threats throughout this minigame. The first of which I'll talk about is Foxy. He attacks from the entrance on your left. You can flash this hallway, and that should make it pretty obvious what it is you have to do to stop him. But if it isn't blatantly obvious, all you have to do is flash him to push him backwards. Pretty simple. Also, when you flash this hallway, you can get a glance at a poster that's a reference to another fan game called 5 Newfangled Nights, which I've actually talked about on this channel before, and you should definitely watch that video after this one. The next threat to talk about is Freddy, who obviously attacks from the other side of you. He's a lot simpler in my opinion. Occasionally you'll hear him giggle right in your ear, and all you have to do in response is just look in his direction, since he's a fat femboy and doesn't like being stared at. So that'll make him go away. Now, I said all you have to do is delete files, and doing so is incredibly simple. Just open your computer and drag the files into the recycling bin. Now, I did say there were 3 threats, and we've only talked about 2. The third threat is a virus that is present inside of the computer that will try to prevent you from deleting files. All you have to do is close the fucking thing and it'll go away. Very simple. It's not a very interesting minigame, but I do really appreciate it when fan games add them, since it pulls away from the central focus of the game, which I do think is necessary sometimes. But hooray! Hour 3 time, and it's about to get crazy. Hour 3 is when I feel this game actually starts to get difficult, as it introduces one of the most annoying characters in the entire game, Chica. I know, I thought it was weird too that Chica is introduced after Freddy and Foxy, but it's honestly pretty cool, as she probably has one of the coolest designs in this entire game. Chica does what I was really hoping this game wouldn't do to me, and that's add a find them on the camera mechanic. But that's exactly what Chica is, so I guess I'll just go fuck myself. Occasionally, Chica will seductively giggle in your ear, and even though I usually would be ecstatic at this thought, this game's Chica is fucking disgusting, and I really don't want to pipe that. When she giggles, she'll teleport to a random fucking camera, because of course she does, and you'll then have to find which camera she went to and just fucking stare at her until she leaves, because we've run out of mechanics for this game to throw at us, which is incredibly disappointing. Oh yeah, that's not all she does though. She does have another way to attack you. She basically just turns into Freddy minus 1 step. She can show up at your window, and all you have to do is hold it closed until she leaves. I personally find it a little weird why they also gave her this attack, but I'm not gonna complain, because at least that means she won't teleport to a camera every time she attacks, just most of the time. Again, this night really starts to amp up the difficulty quite a bit. But in all honesty, I find this game so fun that even though it adds a mechanic that makes me want to rub my willy with a rolling pin to flatten it out, I still found myself enjoying this playthrough, which is really weird for me. Anyways, after you complete this night, we find a newspaper clipping that reads the following. Freddy's is closing. Following the death of Benny Carter at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, the restaurant is permanently closing its doors. After 3 years of operation, this controversy proved too difficult for the company to overcome. Currently, the creators are discussing selling rights off at a local auction. Quote, "It's a tragedy what happened, really it is, but we must continue business as usual end quote, the owner stated. All right, if you guys remember from the beginning, Benny went missing. I guess now it's been confirmed that he got ganked at the bar. I don't really care about that. I never met Benny. I don't care about Benny. What the fuck ever, bro. Let's just finish this fucking shift. All right, on to hour 4. We get to see another tape that explains the character, but fuck you, even though I want to show you these tapes because they're adorable, I also still need to do my job and explain what the characters do myself. There is only one threat introduced on this night. However, that brings the total up to like fucking 6 or something. I don't even know anymore. This character is Foxington, since I guess we can't think of any other animals to add, so we'll just say fuck it and add another fox. Foxington starts from the kitchen because she's a fat slut and makes her way to the office because that's where you are, and it's kind of hard to kill you without getting close to you. Her path is super linear from the kitchen. She'll go from left to right on the cameras, which makes it really confusing and hard to follow her. However, if she moves from the kitchen, you can overload the fuse in whichever room she's in, and that will make her go back a room, but obviously at the cost of overloading a fuse. Obviously, just don't let her get to your office and you're not gonna have a problem. She does have no sound cue when she moves, which really just makes me want to slam my dick in a car door, but what can you do, I guess? At the end of hour 4, something really interesting happens. We get the normal end screen, except that silly little bear clock we see will shatter and we'll get a cutscene. We enter a random room with the text on the wall foreshadowing a character by the name of Bite Bear. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I smell a boss fight night coming up soon. But for now, we can move on to the post-hour minigame. In this minigame, we're at an arcade cabinet for some reason. I thought our character didn't want to leave the office, but sure, whatever, I suppose. In this minigame, we play as Bonnie, and we have to serve a bunch of beer to Freddy because he's trying to get fucked up because his wife just left him. The goal is just to beat the high score of the game, which is very easy. However, as I'm sure you could have guessed, we also have some threats trying to terrorize us while we do this. The first threat during this minigame is Freddy. He makes a very loud laughing sound cue when he's close. When you hear it, all you have to do is pause the game until you hear him walk away. Pretty simple. Bonnie is the only other threat during this section. Bonnie has very big ass feet, so when he moves, it's very loud. When you hear him moving, you'll have to pause the game and turn to your left and hold your flashlight on him until he fucks off. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the scariest thing in this entire game, because just look at this guy and tell me he doesn't look like he's about to rape you, because I think it looks like he is. Look at those fucking soulless eyes, bro. Disgusting. Both Freddy and Bonnie can attack at the same time, and if they do, you'll want to deal with Freddy first. When you beat the high score, you'll hear Bonnie say something I don't fully understand. You'll have to deal with him one final time, and you'll see him turn and run away and knock over some shelves. When you look at the floor, you'll notice a Fredbear poster that just looks fucking disgusting. Like, seriously, bro, what kind of promotional material is this? Anyways, our character says that Fredbear was Benny's favorite, and I'm in shock that we're still wrapped up about this guy, because who the fuck even is Benny? Bro, that's a terrible name, and he's dead, so just move on. Apparently, this poster also had a tape attached to it or something called Showtime 3693, which, if you're stupid, that is a date. And the tape goes as following.
Have you ever felt forgotten? Like you're a memory of something that once was. I don't even know what I'm a memory of. But I know why I'm a memory. You are not the only one who abandoned me. I remember back in the day, singing with the band. The kids didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know either. I was left to rot in that building. None of the ghost stories you've heard are real. That is not to say there are no ghosts at Freddy's. The others are no less of a machine than the computer you watch them on, but I'm not like them. I'm so much more. You know, it's not easy to keep yourself from insanity when all you hear is screams. but those screams are like music now. I enjoy making new friends. I find their screams intoxicating. I don't blame you for what happened. In fact, I think we can still be friends till the end. Why don't you say we play a little game like old times?
So, yeah, that was disturbing. Very disgusting graphics, I won't lie. But as I'm sure you could guess, that game he's talking about is in reference to Hour 5, which is so fucking cool. Let's jump right into it. Hour 5 is cool. At the start of the night, all of the characters will be active. However, at some point, they will all go away and you'll be faced with only the boss that this night has to offer. Of course, Bite Bear. Bite Bear has 5 different ways of attacking you and one universal sound cue for all of them, which is a bit annoying, but I promise this boss fight is fucking awesome. Also, I need to mention how fucking insane the music for this boss fight is because holy shit, it's so goddamn cool. Bite Bear's first attack has him attack your left door and window. When this happens, you need to hold your flashlight on him and then close the door once he starts boogieing it down in your doorway. The same thing goes for the window. His second attack has him attack the vent, which in my opinion is the scariest one because just look, like, holy shit, this is terrifying. All you have to do when he's in your vent is flash your light at him and then turn away. A little underwhelming, sure, but it's still super cool. His third attack actually has him enter the fucking office, which is just so cool. He basically turns into Rat from Five Nights at Candy's 3. All you have to do is hold your mouse on his face 4 times. I say 4 times because he will move his head away from your mouse and will sometimes even jump to the other side of the office. This is 100% my favorite attack from him, without a doubt. His fourth attack will have him scream like a banshee. And now, just guess for me what happens. I'll give you a little hint. I'm a nice guy. I'm a kind, generous individual. I'll give you a little hint. This attack is a mechanic that makes me want to skin a baby alive. What's that? Huh? Did you say find them on the cameras? Well, guess what? You're fucking right, because of course it is. God fucking damn it, kill me! The craziest part, he can use this fucking attack at the same time as all of his other attacks! Fucking why? For what purpose was that part added? Just to make the whole thing so much fucking worse! This game has been so fucking good, but no! Every time I start liking something, the dad has to pull their fucking pants down and just shit in my fucking mouth. Fucking shit! Fuck me in my ass! Find my fucking balls, bitch! I'm gonna split my scrotum open and hit my balls with a hammer so they split into little pieces. And then I'm gonna sprinkle them on all the fucking cameras and tell you to go fucking find them all! Fuck! Ah! Okay, I'm all right now. Fuck. Anyways, once you find him, just overload the fuse and that's it. All right, now let's move on to his final attack. Bite Bear will send some little goons into your office. I have no idea what the fuck they actually are, but they'll jump onto your screen like the Minarinas from Dxtr location. Apparently they're hallucinations, which if they are, I don't even know why we have to deal with them at all, but fuck it, sure. When they're on your screen, you'll have to spam A and W a fuck ton to make them go away. That's really about it. I think this is probably his weakest attack, either this or the vent attack, but the vent attack looks badass, so it gets some pity points. This boss fight is honestly one of the coolest fights I've ever seen from a fan game. It's so fun to play through, and the music during it is amazing. It doesn't do anything new or innovative, but it really does feel like an actual fight for your life, which I think is really cool. But as the fight goes on, the hallucinations start to get to you and your vision slowly fades to black. As you look around the office, Bite Bear gets in and grabs you, but as he's about to kill you, fucking Freddy shows up and decapitates him. What the fuck? I literally have No idea why he did that. My only possible guess is that maybe Benny possessed Freddy and that was him protecting you. But if that was the case, then why was Freddy attacking us the whole time? I don't fucking know. This part doesn't make sense, but that doesn't stop it from being badass. We run out of the building and jump into our car. And as we drive off, we see Freddy standing at the door, waving us goodbye like he wasn't just trying to eat our ass 4 hours ago. The cutscene transitions into the claymation look we've seen throughout the tapes. The animatronics all celebrate for some reason, probably because the security guard left or because Bite Bear's dead. I don't really know, but they all go back to the office only to find the corpse of a child hidden inside of the Bite Bear costume. We get one final newspaper clipping explaining that the body was of Benny and that 2 other victims were also found inside the bar that have been decomposing for several years. So that means that Benny wasn't in the Freddy suit. So why the fuck did Freddy kill Bite Bear? That's a question I don't think anybody except the developer has the answer to. And I know a lot of the developers end up watching my reviews of their games, so bro, if you want to explain that ending to us in the comments, we'd all greatly appreciate it because I'm confused as fuck. The credits are pretty cool. We're in the POV of a Freddy costume and we look around while the credits roll. But I'm not quite done talking about this game as it does have some fun post-game content to talk about, which as you probably know tends to be my favorite part of literally any game I play. Hey, recording Dxtr here. It just occurred to me that flashback at the start that we saw, like the first cutscene where we're in a suit and someone closes the door on us. I'm just realizing I didn't actually write about what that is, but I'm pretty sure that's probably like Benny, I'm guessing, in the Bite Bear suit. As to what we saw close the door, I don't fucking know the answer to that one. The first custom challenge night is called Gone Fishin', which only gives you a flashlight, cameras, and a mask. You might be asking yourself, Dxtr, what the fuck are you talking about? A mask? You never mentioned that. And trust me, I know that. That's because this challenge is the first time it shows up. And during this challenge, Freddy isn't present because he took our fucking doors. Yes, I'm not kidding. We don't have any doors. He took the doors. It says that on the challenge mode. He took our fucking doors on a fishing trip. Why? That doesn't make... The fuck he gonna use doors for? The fuck? He go Titanic on the goddamn lake. Fucking using... Took my goddamn... Fuck off. Taking my goddamn doors. The hell out of here, bro. So instead, they replaced the doors with a mask. And the mask has a toxicity meter that prevents you from keeping it on all night. The mask is literally just the door. Just like every time there's a door mechanic, it just replaces it with the mask one. I don't know why this matters. It could have just been the fucking... I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyways, the next challenge is called Fuse You Lose, which uses Bonnie, Foxy, and Foxington, who, as you can tell, are the only characters that use your fuses. And in this challenge, you can only override your fuses 10 times. So have fun with RNG. This challenge sucks ass. Another round is a challenge that is just the prelude to the Bite Bear fight, so it's pretty fucking boring. However, Bite-Mare is insane and is just this game's all-20 mode, nothing super special. The final challenge to talk about is Wacky Saturday. It takes a page out of Crawlspace's book and inverts your fucking shit. Your vision stays the same, but your mouse will be completely inverted throughout the whole night. That's literally it. Just the most frustrating shit of all time. Mazel tov. Oh yeah, and something about Bite-Mare that's really cool. After you complete it, you get this cutscene.
Okay, what now?
There's a few boxes over here, and... What's that?
I don't know. But we shouldn't move it. The company said only the main stage animatronics get moved.
Weird, but fair enough.
Anyways, let's just get what we have so far, and bring it over to the new place.
So 2 people go to move shit around, Bite Bear murks their asses, and then presumably climbs into the back of a truck. Why the fuck does he do this? I have no idea, and the game doesn't tell you, so I don't care. But with that, that's all Saturday Night at Freddy's has to offer. Overall, I think this game is fantastic. Crazy character designs, probably the best soundtrack I've ever heard since Undertale, and a story that I don't understand, but I can try to forget about that part. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually just straight dookie booty? Let me know in the comments below. In my flip side video, I asked you guys what FNAF game you think needs a remaster and why, and my favorite answer was this one by Hevetel 2.0. They said Those Nights at Rachel's, and I agree because honestly that game is super underwhelming. You should watch my video about it after this one. When you think of a fantastic FNAF game, what comes to mind? Is it good character designs, a good story, fantastic mechanics? Well, honestly, it's probably a mix of all of those. Because of course it is. That's literally what makes a game good. Now, my question for you is, have you ever wanted to play a game with just a bunch of nothing going on, but the game serves it to you in such a way that it feels like you're actually getting something? Kind of like eating celery. You think, oh hey, I'm getting energy, but you're literally not at all because you burn more calories eating it than you actually get for eating it. Well, if you've ever wanted a FNAF game just like that, then Freddy and the Gang, the game we'll be talking about in this video, just might be for you. Sit back and relax because it has been quite a while since I've gotten as mad as I have in this video. So let's dive right into it. Unfortunately for me, this game begins with a tutorial night. And if you know anything about FNAF games, that's literally never a good sign. And I'll really need this tutorial night since you'll learn that I quite literally didn't understand several integral mechanics throughout my playthrough of this game. I should start by saying that before each night, we get an email explaining some things. This replaces the phone calls that most other FNAF games have.
Hey, Jeremy. Welcome to the team. I know the job listing was pretty vague about a lot of things, so I thought I would write to you with some more details. I'm sure you remember that mall that collapsed during the big earthquake a few years ago, back in 1992, I think. The damage to the building was considered so severe that no one even tried to salvage anything. They just marked the whole area as condemned and built a new mall. Well, recently, me and my team of contract renovators were hired to go through some of the wreckage of the old mall, specifically the wreckage of the old pizza place that used to be there. I think it was called Freddy's Pizza Place or something along those lines. I guess it was kind of the main attraction, very popular with the kids at the time, but I wouldn't know. My little girl was far too young back then to be going out to malls. Anyways, our job is to go to the old pizza place at night and clear through the rubble to try to find the old animatronic mascot characters that used to perform on stage there, and then bring them to the warehouse you're currently in. They're probably in pretty bad shape, but our employer insists that they are of immense personal value, and he is paying far too well for me to be asking questions.
After that, we're booted to the tutorial, but I'll be explaining how the game works throughout this video, so we won't really need that. However, before we can jump into night 1, we first have a minigame to play, that being a classic FNAF 6 style salvage minigame with Bonnie. Let's just begin by saying that these character models are interesting, to say the least. Not only are they oddly unproportional, but they also are pretty much all fat as hell, so that's always super nice to see. All we have to do is play a weird frequency on a radio, push some buttons and shit, shock the hell out of Bonnie, and eventually he'll lean forward at us, which I will admit I'm not a really huge fan of. However, once we shock him to put him back into his place, we do see his eyes look like this, which I'll be totally honest with you guys, cannot say I'm a huge fan of.
Hey, Jeremy. Glad to hear your first shift went well. I'll try to keep things brief, although there are a couple things that I should know before you begin your shift tonight. Somehow, the character we salvaged last night is still operational. And furthermore, we even saw it walking around a bit today. Apparently, these characters are able to roam around freely at the old pizza place and are programmed to look for people to entertain. Currently, the only person in the building is you, so don't be surprised if you see the character wandering in your general direction. I'm fairly certain this old piece of junk doesn't pose any real threat to you. But just in case you don't feel comfortable sharing your workspace with an old beloved children's mascot character, one of my guys was actually able to figure out a solution.
And that solution, I'm not gonna read because I'm gonna tell you about it. It's my job, I do that. But with that, we finally get booted into night 1 and can start talking about the metric shitload of fuck we have to learn and manage. So let's start talking about the tools at our disposal. Actually, before we start talking about that, I wanna talk about the weirdest shit position our office is in. Because, as I'm sure you could tell, it's not an office at all, and instead it's just a really absolutely massive fucking warehouse that we're just sat in the middle of. I guess right next to where we are was the only place with an outlet. I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, now on to our tools. Of course, we have a computer. However, it's not just a camera system like it would usually be in these games. It does have cameras on it, of course, but it also has some other stuff for us to do. We can check the status of various things, mainly our vent fans and our power. That's really all that matters. And we can look at a motion detector, which I honestly found completely fucking useless because we have cameras and our eyes. Speaking of the cameras, they are pretty unique. I will give this game that much credit. There are only 3 cameras in the entire game, and each of them are in a room with a generator inside. These generators will obviously become very important later on. These cameras also only refresh once every 5 seconds. It's not a very long wait time, so you probably won't really see it as a problem. However, it is still something I feel I should point out. Inside of these cameras, you'll obviously be able to tell that there are doors to each room. We need to keep the animatronics out of these rooms, and closing the doors is obviously how we do that. However, as I'm sure you could tell, there's no way to do this from inside of the cameras. This is where turning around so fast in our swivel chair that we get sick and Ralph in the classroom and forever get remembered as the kid who threw up in class comes into play. By turning around, we will see a bunch of shit that looks really confusing, because it is. Let's just focus on these 3 levers over here. These levers control the doors in the cameras. Now, here's where these doors get really AIDS. They don't work like normal FNAF doors and eat up power. Instead, if you have a door closed for too long, it'll overheat and completely fuck itself. So, moral of the story, don't keep them closed for too long. Of course, the last thing we should talk about is this giant breaker box behind us, because trust me, I know, it looks confusing. As you can see, we have a map on the inside of the panel. This map has letter labels that correspond to each breaker switch. There are massive fans on the ceilings of the entire complex. Of course, this game has a heat system, and if the building you're in gets too hot, you guessed it right, you fucking die. Randomly throughout the night, these breakers may flip, causing a fan to stop spinning, which of course will slowly heat up the building. It'll be pretty obvious when you're overheating because your whole screen will turn red like you just survived a sniper shot in Call of Duty. Just make sure you're checking on the breaker every now and then. However, something about the fans in this game is that they're seriously loud as hell, and this game will eventually have a lot of sound cues that you'll want to listen for. Not only that, but the sound of the fans, for some reason, attracts the animatronics to your location. Ignoring the fact that there are fans throughout the entire building, they somehow will still be able to pinpoint exactly where you are, so you'll have to turn off the fans closest to you, not only to hear sound cues, but also to slow the speed at which the animatronics will bombard you like Zhang Zong Shang will bombard your mom. Cool. We haven't even started talking about an animatronic yet, and we already have some bullshit to constantly attend to. And stick around because there's something about this game that it doesn't tell you that ends up being probably one of the biggest plot twists of all time in the most frustrating way imaginable. Alright, let's move on to talking about the only threat that Night 1 introduces. If it wasn't obvious who this would be, of course, it's Bonnie, since we did just see him in the salvage minigame. Bonnie, as he typically is the most basic character you'll find throughout this game. His goal is to just walk right up to you and pay for your services, except he actually treats you like everyone treats the hookers in GTA, pay for their services and pile drive them with your car to get the money back. Literally a life hack, by the way. Looking in front of us, we can use our flashlight to see around. There are 3 directions that characters can approach from, and Bonnie will approach us from the left. He will randomly wander around the building, except of course, the only times you'll be able to see him on the cameras is when he steps in front of the generator door. We obviously don't want him in there since he'll fuck up our generator, so we should just close the door when we see him there. Something I'm realizing I forgot to mention is what happens when these generators get attacked. Well, this game actually does have a power system. I just haven't mentioned it so far because I hate you guys and I want to keep you on your toes. The reason I didn't mention it is because if you have all 3 generators, you can pretty much do whatever you want and you will never notice your power at all. However, once you lose even 1 generator, your power will start to deplete a lot faster, and it's very likely the night will not be completed if you lose a generator early on. So really make sure you're tracking these guys, because once they enter the generator room, they won't leave until they break that bitch, like I break kids' spirit at the park by telling them that Santa Claus isn't real just to see them cry, because it's the only thing that brings me any enjoyment anymore. Anyways, back to Bonnie. Obviously, you can track Bonnie through the radar to get an exact location. And if he starts getting too close to you, just turn off the fans near you and he should wander to where the fans are on. However, I never really did this in my playthrough because, like I said, I never really ended up using the radar at all. What I chose to do was a lot easier. I would constantly turn the fans near me off until I started to get close to overheating. Then I would turn the fans back on for just long enough to not die and then turn them off again. This played a hand installing the animatronics for as long as possible. Then once Bonnie eventually does make it close, all you have to do is spam your flashlight at him and eventually he'll just wander away because they don't like bright lights. Something very odd I noticed is that in the email from night 1, the guy tells us that using the flashlight may just cause the animatronics to get mad and attack us instead of walking away. But I literally never had this happen, so I think that that's just a scare tactic. Either that or I'm actually just the luckiest man alive. I mean, I did pull Vampiric Tutor and Emeritus of Woe from the new Strixhaven set, so maybe it is the latter. But that's about all night 1 has to offer. Not too bad, and overall, I think this game could go on to be a very good time and totally not one of the most degrading, soul-sucking games I've ever played in the entirety of my life. All right, so we're gonna be playing some fan games today. Get it? FNAF, fan game. I'm gonna kill myself, don't mind me. Okay, so H is me. H, I, and G is what I'd want to turn off. He's up near me. Boom, boom, boom. That's the plan. That'll be the plan. Oh, oh, oh. Okay. Okay. Go away. Hey. I'm listening, because I thought I heard footsteps last time of him leaving. Okay. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Hey, I did it. Look at that. Hooray! 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 Moving on to night 2, we begin with a Freddy salvage minigame. It literally plays out the exact same way as Bonnie's. Play some weird radio shit, make him move, shock him if he gets too close. Oh, and of course, see some eyes so spooky you shit your fucking pants. Now, night 2 introduces one new threat, and that threat is, of course, Chica! Nah, I'm kidding. It's obviously Freddy. Freddy plays an integral role of being the most aggressive character in this entire game. You know those generators I mentioned last night? Yeah? Yeah. Freddy does not like those things at all. Let's just start by mentioning that Freddy can also attack you like Bonnie via the hallway directly in front of you. However, it is not very often he will do this since he would much rather prefer to just fuck your generators in the ass. Freddy can travel to any of your 3 generators. Freddy is incredibly fast and you will really need to be watching the cameras to track his movements as he'll jump from one generator to another at lightning speed. And he is not at all forgiving with how long it takes him to enter the room once he appears in the camera, usually only having it take 1 or 2 refreshes of the camera for him to enter the room, which of course is like not a lot of time at all. Of course, if we see Freddy at one of these doors, just like Bonnie, close it and eventually he'll go away. But this bodes the question. If the only way we know he's at the door is by looking at the camera, and when the door is closed, you can't see if someone is by it, and there are no cameras to look at besides these door cameras, how are you supposed to know when Freddy has left the door? We've already established you can't leave the doors closed for too long or else the generator will fuck itself anyways, even without the assistance of a 6'5" hung like a horse robot. Well, you could check the radar. However, there's no way to tell which fucking dot is who, so I wouldn't even waste my time. What I would do is, once I closed a door on Freddy, I'd wait maybe 15 seconds, then I'd open the door and check if he was still at the door, and my heart would stop as I whipped around as fast as humanly possible to close the door again, and just hope and pray that it didn't take too long. Is this the best strategy? Literally no. Would I recommend it? Well, I wouldn't recommend this game at all, in all honesty, so no. But hey, it worked for me after enough attempts, and I promise, on later nights, there were many attempts, and you can see all of them over on my second channel, Dxtr Black. Overall, Freddy doesn't add a whole lot more crazy shit to the game, except really how long it took for me to really find out the best way to deal with him. Because something I'd noticed was happening is that since I wouldn't know when Freddy left, I'd find out once I saw him at another door, and this would pretty much lead to a cycle of me always having at least one door closed for pretty much the entire night, and actually fucking wrecking myself terribly hard. Not a fun experience. Don't be a retard. It makes life a lot harder. This is also where I want to take time to mention how fucking long these nights are. Like seriously, oh my god. They're just about 8 minutes long in this goddamn game. And even though I feel like I've made it sound like these nights go by fast, holy shit, do they just not at all. Each early night of this game feels like a complete slog that never ends. Totally not something I would recommend. I have no idea why some fan games insist on making their nights so fucking long. I can't stand it. I could also mention the annoying ass hallucinations in this game, because of course it has plenty of them. The hallucinations in FNAF 1 were okay because they didn't happen all that often, but the hallucinations in this game happen all the time. And it's only one hallucination you'll get, so it's not even interesting after the third time you see it, which will probably be during night 1. And they're so big and hurt my fucking eyes and make me either want to shit my pants, cry, kill myself, or D, all of the above. This ain't too bad. We got a little bit of a cycle going. Not really. I actually like have no idea what's going on. I can't even lie to you. I know very basically what is I know generically what is going on. You know, we could have some really good progress being made here. Nothing would even dream of hurting me. My rocking 19-pack abs, they're chiseled like diamond. You're not gonna hurt me. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna grab a clump of this rump. It's gonna stay to itself. I don't want you nowhere near me, bro. Not even for a moment. I don't like that too much. Oh my god, they're both still there. I don't know why this feels so much harder than it actually is. Like this game is like, I'm actually stressed out. Like I can't even lie. And that's problem solved. Problem solved. Oh my god. That's gross. Night 3 begins with yet another salvage minigame. This time for Chica. Same thing goes here once again. Make her do a little jig, fuck with her insides.
I was the first. The devil cut off my wings. An angel saved us, but the devil will return.
And then there's some purple text that I can't for the fuck of me even begin to decipher. If you guys have any idea what this says, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that was definitely a bit creepy. I did like that. I did enjoy that. I can't even lie. Anyways, we flash her like she's Star Fox from Late Shift at Nintendo World. Don't let her finger us. And voila, we can start night 3. Night 3 obviously brings along Chica. And if you were hoping that after that cool cutscene in the salvage section that she was going to be at all interesting or unique, then you really need to start lowering your expectations. Because there is nothing FNAF devs like to do more than make several of their characters do the exact same thing. Chica is pretty much just Bonnie, except she attacks from the right side instead of the left. Who would have thought? I would have never seen that one coming. Something a little bit more interesting about Chica, however, is that she is much more aggressive. She moves around much more frequently, which means she'll attack you in your office a lot more. And she also, like, isn't super responsive to the light. Don't get me wrong, the light does make her go away, but you'll have to spam it on her for a fuck of a lot longer than Bonnie. I'm not really sure why she is this way, but hey, that's how she is. Another thing about Chica is that she can be spotted on your generator cameras trying to eat your generators because she's a fat fucking pig, which I find weird because I thought she was Chica the chicken, not Chica the your mom. I know, guys. I know. I'm a comedic god and I deserve a trophy. Hand it over. Editor, give me the trophy right now. Make it look nice. Hey, hey! I see a speck of dirt on it. Clean it off! No, not with the dirty rag, you fucking piglet! Use the clean rag! There. That's better. Get to scrubbing.
Good boy. Back to the editing dungeon for you.
It's on this night where you really start to notice how difficult it's getting to not lose a generator. It feels like there's always at least one character sitting outside of your doors, and you have them all closed so often that eventually either someone slips in or they overheat and break anyways, leading to a death. And when the nights are so fucking long, losing at 7 minutes is really enough to make you start questioning whether or not you want to stay a free man in society or not. I really wish I had more to talk about on this night, but again, Chica is literally just Bonnie with pretty much no differences except being a hell of a lot more aggressive. So I will choose to move on to night 4. All right, that's Golden Freddy. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't even see that. Why are you bent over like that? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Bitch, my flashlight don't work now? Don't do that. How come your lights work and mine don't? My flashlight don't even work. Tell me how that make any sense. Don't you dare. Oh, he's gonna do it, isn't he? Don't you do it. Okay, he did it. Hey. What's up with you? Yeah, let's... I don't know what that was, but I didn't like it. I just don't know what I'm doing, bro. I don't know what's going on. It just doesn't make sense, bro. There's very clearly something I don't understand here. But I can't look it up. I can't look up what I'm supposed to do. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest issue, is I can't look it up. Night four, here we are. Of course, we start with a salvage, and this time we have to fix up Foxy. And by fix up Foxy, I mean blind him and tase him because he was reaching for the license and registration that we asked him to reach for. Foxes have a lot of negative connotations around them, and I happen to speciesily profile. Once we flash Foxy, however, we see that he actually disappears, which does make me incredibly uncomfortable. Yes, thank you for asking. Now that we're sitting here with our dicks in our hands, we notice a figure slowly start to appear in the background. It's got a white forehead, and that makes me incredibly nervous that it's the puppet. Yep, exactly. The stupid fucking skinny ass, french fry ass, pencil ass, charcoal ass, chopstick ass, anorexic ass, carrot that didn't grow long enough ass, kid that doesn't eat enough because his mom is a pig and won't let him eat ass, puppet. Just coming right up to me and riding my shit. Fantastic. Let's just get to the night section already. Night 4, of course, introduces Foxy. And oh my god, he just might be the worst character on the face of the planet because he has by far killed me more than any other character in this entire game. Foxy does not give a shit about how much sound you make. He will come for that ass no matter what. One good thing about him before we get into the piles and piles of bad things about him is that he never appears on your cameras, which means he'll never try to eat your generators. However, that is still bad news because that just means he's hungry for booty, and you happen to have a whole lot of it. Foxy makes no fucking sound cues from what I was able to notice, and he can attack you from any of the 3 hallways. So this night is when this game devolves into turning and flashing simulator, which I'm sure you're all very excited for. Whenever you see Foxy, unlike every other character you will be able to see from your desk, he will not stand still. He has Tourette's syndrome, and his main tick is sprinting at your desk as fast as humanly or robotically possible. I'm gonna kill myself. That was actually the worst joke I've ever written. What is wrong with me? All you have to do is hold your flashlight on him and he'll leave before reaching your desk. However, the problem that I had with Foxy is that if you ever let go of your light, if even for one single frame during this run animation, he will fucking annihilate you. And he also happens to play the loudest sound on planet Earth when he runs at you, which never failed to scare the shit out of me and cause my finger to leave my mouse, making me die to Foxy 6 minutes into the fucking night and make me pull my hair out in front of the mirror and shave only the top of my head like one of those mentally insane people you always see in the pictures. You know, the people that post themselves checking into psych wards like that makes you cool. Die. People have problems. Don't glorify it. Foxy is super easy to deal with. I just jumped every single time I noticed him. When there's no way to track him, he makes no sound cues and appears at random. It makes it really hard to stay focused, especially once you settle into the monotonous pattern of flashing every hallway. Even if he doesn't scare you and make you let go of your mouse, force of habit will probably cause you to let go before you even notice that Foxy is running at you, causing a death anyways. So that's just fucking amazing. And of course, the problem of characters constantly being at your generator doors and raping your power constantly gets even worse on this night because the characters get even more aggressive and sit and camp your doors for even longer. So long that sometimes they will sit at your door for longer than it takes for the generator to shit itself from keeping the door closed, making it literally completely impossible to not lose a generator, which in turn makes it completely impossible to beat the night. Literally, what the fuck am I even playing right now? But you guys just wait. That twist I was talking about will be coming up very soon. And once you hear it, I think you'll lose your mind just about as much as I did when I figured it out. But for now, let's move on to night 5. How are you now? And welcome back to some more Freddy and the Gang. Freddy and the Dick Gang. Freddy and the Big Dick Gang. Demonetized. Freddy and the Dick Gang. Let's jump into Thursday. See what new ass it has to give me. I am prepared. I am ready to be railed in the back. Operation Put a Hole in My Back is in session. The noise can't get Foxy to go away. I'm totally prepared. Foxy's always been a sucker for lights. He doesn't fucking like him. He's a little piss baby bitch boy, and that's fine. It's okay to be a piss baby bitch boy about certain things. This is not something you can deal with. You can't handle my motion. So Freddy got in, which means I lose. All right, let's try that again. Because I think Foxy's fine when he's back there. I'm guessing he's gonna get close. I'll be ready. If he steps closer to me, Operation put a hole in his back. I want to kill myself, dude. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? How do you guys watch me? What's wrong with you guys? There's got to be something wrong. There's got to be something going on with you guys, you freaking weirdos. Oh, my shitting dick. Fuck. Fuck my dick. My dick is fucked. Is that Chica? That's Chica. Oh, my fucking cock. What the fuck? I got to get ready to take a hit here. Where the fuck did my flashlight? My flashlight's gone. Was the night supposed to end earlier? Is that what that was? I don't know what that was. My flashlight was fucking gone. It was gone for a moment. There was literally about to be shit in my britches. Let me tell you what there was about to be. There was about to be. Another night, another salvage minigame. Just kidding. This night doesn't actually have one. We're just thrown right into it. So, we saw the marionette during the last minigame section. Does that mean she's gonna be a new threat on this night, Dexter? Oh, you silly bitch viewer. Of course not. That would actually be cool, and this game is way too cool to do something cool. Bars. However, on this night, we do get a somewhat interesting email.
Jeremy, I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. There was something behind what looked like a false wall in the pizzeria. The employer was very quick to dismiss my concerns and even threatened to terminate my contract. But the blueprints I saw yesterday confirmed it. There's more to Freddy's that they aren't telling us. An extra room, boarded off and scrubbed from any and all official documents. And for some reason, it seemed to be in far better shape than the rest of the building. Almost as if somehow the big earthquake back in 1992 just didn't affect the one room. It makes no sense. Me and one of the other guys are going back to the old mall tonight. The boss doesn't know about this. I don't know why, but I just can't stop thinking about it. I don't do a job halfway. If there's another character in that pizzeria, I am going to find it. The extra room is behind a flimsy false wall, so we shouldn't even need any excavating equipment. Once I get a better look, I may even see if I can bring in a seismologist to try and explain how one secret room was just completely unaffected by an earthquake of record-breaking magnitude.
Anyways, Night 5 literally introduces nothing new and is just a much harder version of Night 4, which brings up the question, how the fuck are we supposed to beat it if Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy are literally almost constantly at your generator doors? Well, dear viewer, that's where that funny little plot twist I told you about earlier comes into play. Do you want to hear the craziest shit I've ever heard in my entire life? Well, get this. Both Bonnie and Chica are unable to attack your generators. It's only Freddy. Yes, I'm serious. Despite the emails telling us to not let any characters into the generator room and being able to see both Bonnie and Chica outside of the doors, no, both of them will literally never enter the generator rooms under any circumstance. You can just fucking see them standing there for some reason. Are you fucking kidding me? Game, why are you grabbing my penis and just squeezing it as hard as you fucking can? Why did you not tell the player this? Why did you make it seem like all of the characters could attack your generators? You might be wondering how I figured it out, and it's dead ass only because I got a comment about it. Because this game pulls a post shift 2 and literally doesn't fucking tell you. Are you fucking goddamn cocksucking serious? Oh my god! How do you forget something so fucking obvious? How do you forget to tell the player something as crucial as this? I just don't fucking get it. It's mind-boggling to me. This is the second game in a row that I've covered where the game just forgets that it has to be a game and teach the player literally anything at all. I have never been more disgusted with a concept in my entire life. Guys, I know I always say find them on the cameras is my least favorite thing, but I think this fucking bullshit beats it. What do you mean you're not gonna tell me how to play your fucking game? How about you suck the cum out of my dick and gargle it? Swish it between your teeth like you're using Listerine. Spit it into the air and catch it in your mouth again. How about you take a potato peeler and just run it along the length of your foreskin and make french fries out of it? How about you go skydiving and replace your parachute with a fucking anvil? How about you shave my ass with your teeth? Treat it like a nice lawnmower. Fuck you and fuck your mother right in the face. God fucking damn it. I need to relax. It's been so long since you've gotten upset like this. And you've been doing so well. You made it all the way through Post Shift 2 without losing your cool. And you're seriously about to let this game do it to you? No, I can't let it. I must control the beast inside. The demon. I can't let him get the best of me again. I need to relax. Okay. I'm good. I think I'm good. I can't fucking handle it! You did this to me, game! You made me this way! If you didn't suck so much dick, then maybe people would see you in a well-regard and not instantly forget about this piece of shit! Dog shit! Fucking degradable fucking bullshit! Pussy dick ass shit fucking pile of fuck! Oh. Glad I got that out of my system. That should calm the demon in my brain for another couple of videos. Anyways, night 5 is boring in the long run. Let's just jump to night 6. Maybe that will be a bit more interesting. Fucking with me, go leave you dead or alive. Just, those are the only two options. You get it. Anyways, thank you. Fucking cock! Jesus Christ. Scares me so fucking bad every time, dude. Oh my lord, bro, those hallucinations scare me more than like anything else. Oh my god, I don't even know if it's like seeing. I think it's a fucking loud ass noise in my ear, bro. Let's wait for that refresh back. There we go. You're good at that. Beep, 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 beep. Ooh, is that Foxy? That's Foxy. Yeah, he can come back. Yep. Ah, bitch! I think the running at me scared me, and I think my mouse like let go for like a fraction of a second, and then that's what killed me. Because I jumped. I jumped because he fucking scared me. Dick. I don't know what the fuck. Stop doing that. Scaring the shit out of me, bro. Oh my god. Fuck! God damn it! Oh. Oh my god, dude. I hate Foxy's mechanic is so awkward. His mechanic is so awkward because I don't even know how to describe why it's awkward. Like obviously you have to hold your light on him, but you never know when he's gonna run. It's like you'll get into a click pattern and then the click pattern will fuck you up. Please, please, please. I've been doing this for way too long, dude. I don't know why this game is so fucking hard. Oh! I was about to say, I don't know why this game is so fucking hard for me, dude. It's like the mechanics are so simple. I don't know why I'm struggling so much. Well, no, it's because Foxy. Foxy scares the shit out of me every single time. It makes me move my mouse and then the light goes off him. Jesus, dude.
Jeremy, I hope to God you're not in that damn warehouse. I'm writing this email because you wouldn't pick up your phone. I'm not going anywhere near that place ever again after what happened today. If you went there, then you're on your own. I now understand why that monster was locked away to be forgotten. It killed everyone. All of my coworkers, my friends. I don't know what that thing is or how it's capable of any of this, but it is pure evil. It piled up their bodies like animals after a hunt. And then it tore apart the other mascot characters like they were stuffed toys. And I could swear that it was laughing. I don't know how I survived. I just hid and then ran. It's not like the others. They're like wild animals lashing out in fear. But this is a predator hunting for sport. I think I let the devil out, Jeremy. If you somehow made it to your desk, it's safer for you to just stay there. If you try to walk through the building again, you will die. The employer is on his way right now, and he's coming from out of town. He won't get there until morning. If you have any hope of surviving, it'll be with this help. May God have mercy on your soul.
So, clearly something very bad happened, and with that comes a brand new threat, who this game just calls the Bunny. You'll notice on night 6 that every character we've seen so far is suddenly no longer active. That would probably be as a result of the Bunny. But speaking of the Bunny, what exactly does he do? Do you want to know the real answer to that? Because the answer is, I don't fucking know. No, I'm serious. I actually have no idea. I never even saw the character throughout the entire night. This is the entire night being played at high speed for you. You don't even need to open the cameras. He literally does nothing. I actually have nothing to talk about since you never see him and he doesn't do anything. And especially because none of the other characters are active during this night, the final night in the game is actually easier than the first night, which doesn't even make any sense, but fuck it, we ball. I'll roll with it, no problem. You see what I did there? Ball, roll, yeah, because balls roll. Yeah, you get it, moving on.
Jeremy, I have no idea how you got out of there alive. I would say we should get together and talk things over, but I'm far away from that evil town. Me and my daughter packed our bags and left yesterday, and I suggest you get out as well.
I'm sure the last thing you want to hear right now is more info about the job, but I thought this was interesting enough to merit telling you. After all you've been through, you deserve to know. The seismologist I mentioned, he just sent me his report. He stayed up all night going through the data after saying it was the most confusing thing he'd ever seen. The earthquake back in 1992. Somehow, that mall was the center of it. As in, the earthquake started at the mall. More specifically, Freddy Fazbear's in the hidden room. We have no idea how that's even possible. His current theory is that there may have been something under the building that exploded or imploded. Something along those lines. But we really have no idea. There really does seem to be a whole lot more to Freddy's than we imagined. I don't know about you, but personally, I want nothing to do with any of it. I'm just grateful that me and my kid are alive. You should be grateful to be alive as well. And word of advice, don't try to look further into this. Just stay away. It's for your own good. Goodbye, Jeremy. Ralph.
They're not dead, only broken. I will put them back together. Will you help me?
And with that, we get the true ending and Freddy and the gang comes to a close. What the fuck was the puppet talking about? I have no idea. Ralph told us not to look deeper into this place. And then we find out that we were reading his emails on the computer in the building anyways, proving that we decided to not listen to him. And now it seems that we're gonna be forced to help the fucking goon put some bitches back together. Wonderful. I don't want to, but I also don't want to learn what puppet meat feels like between my buns. But this is where Freddy and the gang comes to a close. Overall, I think Freddy and the Gang is a fine enough fan game. There's not enough to make me go, holy shit, this was fucking awesome. But it also wasn't bad enough for me to shit all over it and lose my mind. I mean, sure, I did lose it a little bit on night 5, but I think that has a lot more to do with pent up frustrations from my post shift 2 video since I wasn't able to get it out there. And this game just triggered some PTSD or some shit. I don't really know. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Or do you think that Freddy and the Gang is actually the most innovative FNAF game ever conceived by man? Let me know in the comments below. In my Welcome to Fredbear's video, I asked you guys what your favorite FNAF Fredbear's game was and why. And my favorite was this one by Raziel1757. They said, Welcome to Fredbear's itself. And the reason they gave is actually super interesting, and I honestly agree. To subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Thank you to these 3 talented artists for your fan art. You can submit yours in the Discord, link in the description. Thank you to my super fan channel members. You guys give me the money I need to pay my editor to do stupid skits in the middle of my videos. I've been Dxtr, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!